Another NCAA gymnastics season is upon us. From the Berg to Independence Hall, it's the Keystone Classic coming to you live from the Palestra in Philadelphia. It's Pitt, it's Temple, it's Penn State, it's Penn, alongside Christina Chauvenet. I'm Andrew Luftglass, and it is so good to be back with you once again. Christina, you said it on Twitter. Today is the real first day of the new year, am I right?
Forget about January 1st. It's NCAA gymnastics season, baby. I'm really excited.
Pardon me, on X. Well, let's take a look at these four teams, shall we? Let's start with the hosts, Penn, on an upward trajectory over the last few years, right? They've had a tremendous success in recruiting. As a result, back-to-back GEC titles. They had not won one since 2013 before their triumph 2 years ago, and they keep on rising.
Absolutely. I've been so impressed with what Penn has done over the last couple years. You mentioned those GEC championships. They've been getting some of those solid 196 numbers. I love that they're naming that their goal is to qualify to NCAA regionals. If they did so, they'd be the first Ivy League team ever to do so. Remember, the Ivies, no athletic scholarships, so I'm so impressed with what they're building here at Penn.
Well, a team that's also on the rise, Penn State, took the biggest leap of any team in NCAA gymnastics a year ago, from 40th in the country to 25th.
Absolutely, and I had the pleasure of commentating their round one meet where they advanced to that regional semifinal. They're coming into this meet certainly as the favorite. NQS last season, 196.415, and as you mentioned, just a huge leap, missing regionals, going to rank 25th in the country. They've got some great returners, Ava Piedrahita, Cassie Rushlow, both qualified individuals to nationals, and they're returning a lot of other big routines and some stellar freshmen.
They retain every single one of their routines from that 25th ranked team a year ago.
Absolutely.
Well, on to Pitt. This is the first of two teams in our meet today with first-year head coaches. For the Pitt Panthers, they are now led by the former Beam Queen, Casey Jo McPherson.
Absolutely, and college gymnastics fans will remember formerly Casey Jo McGee, who was an All-American at Arkansas, and in her first season as a head coach at Pitt, you're going to look at Hallie Copperwheat in the Pitt warm-up there, and like Casey Jo, she's a turner. I'm excited to see her double turn. Hopefully, we hear it's a game-time decision if she'll do the double turn, but tricky place to start on beam, but I'm really excited to see the energy that they're bringing, keeping it light and fun in warm-ups, and they've got some great new faces as well.
Yeah, but isn't it fitting that in her first year as the head coach of Pitt, the first routine, the first apparatus that they're on in her first meet is on beam?
Absolutely. And remember, she used to do the Okino, folks, that triple turn, real wild beam worker.
And then another team with a brand new head coach. Hillary Steele is taking over at Temple for Josh Nielsen, who's moved on to be the associate head coach at Illinois. Owls looking for a bounce back from a tough 2023.
Absolutely, and several of their top contributors have transferred or graduated. They've got some key returners in twins Sarah and Hannah Stallings, Madison Durunda, Renee Schudman, and Brooke Donabedian, who qualified as an individual on floor last year. Really excited to see her here.
So in the first rotation, it's going to be Penn starting on vault, Penn State will begin on bars. We already mentioned that Pitt will start on beam, and Temple, you see warming up on floor. That's where they will start in rotation at number one. We'll get into all of that in a little bit, but first we've got to address some of the scoring changes we're looking at in 2024. There's one really big change.
Absolutely. Now remember, the code changes as to what values skills are assigned. Those only happen every 2 years. So they made those changes to the 2023 season. So we're not really seeing a lot of skill value changes. But what we did see this year that was big is a change in the finish position penalty. So there is an additional half a tenth deduction on vault, bars, and beam for not holding a finish position for at least 1 second. This is really to stop gymnasts from getting away with what we call the college stick. And the college stick, folks, if you're new to college gymnastics, is when you're landing it, you almost stuck it, but you're trying to pull your hands up really quickly and celebrate so that it looks like you stuck it completely. So they're trying to get all the judges on the same page of that. You got to show complete control. What that means is holding your finished position for 1 second with your arms in the air. This is really critical. They cannot be in front, has to be in the air in the direction in which it was moving. Even if you take that step, you got to return to it, raise your hands above. I'm going to be really watching to see what the judges do with that. How harsh are they on that, and are they applying that. You know, a few years ago, they implemented a rhythm deduction change on beam. We saw them taking that at the beginning of the season, but then it kind of wore on during the later part of the season. So we'll see what they do here.
Yeah, this is the sort of thing that you can't just watch meet one. We'll be tracking that throughout the entire course of the season. And if you're the coaches, and we talked to all the coaches ahead of this meet tonight, they all had their own sort of methods of training and encouraging their athletes to keep that in mind. Last second before the meet, you got to have one last reminder of that deduction.
Absolutely. And also the college gymnastics atmosphere, it's not conducive to holding it for an extra second because your teammates are excited, you're excited, you want to go celebrate with them. So it is, I know this sounds funny to say, but like it is a little bit of a culture shift to be like, hey, you got to hold that, then you can go celebrate with your team.
One of the little changes that some of the athletes had to make that we heard about was sometimes they weren't facing the right way either. So that's something you always have to be cognizant of exactly where the judges are when you're saluting.
Absolutely. So you cannot turn and step. It has to be in the direction that you finished in. So that we're going to be looking for. And, you know, if I'm being completely honest, I don't necessarily agree with the arms up. I think they could be held in front and you would achieve the same purpose. But I agree with the spirit of the rule because it will reward athletes that have complete control on that stick. And
one other smaller change, and this was something that you think is probably a good thing from a judge's perspective.
Absolutely. So this year there's also been a change to the penalties associated with landing deductions and the magnitude of the landing deduction. So half a tenth, that's going to be that tiny hop in place rebound, almost like a non-step, not quite stuck. And then tenth is one of those actual kind of walking pace steps. Previously, then it jumped to 0.2 for a lunge of a yard or longer. This year they've implemented 0.15 for something in between that walking step and that yard. Again, I think it's really great when the judges are getting more specific about the deductions that they're taking. It allows them to be more precise.
Yeah, it gives them something of an out, right? Because before they had to make the decision, hey, is that an actual step? Is that a 10th deduction, or is that a lunge? There is now an in-between deduction that they can go to give them a little bit of a break and make the scoring more precise than it has ever been. That is the hope with that landing deduction change.
Absolutely.
So we are now just about ready to go, finished with the 4-minute touch warm-up. Again, in our first rotation, Penn will be on the vault. You see Pitt getting ready on beam. Penn State will be on bars, Temple on floor. So this will be Kennedy Duke getting ready to start on beam for Pitt. And we will get the quad box going for you, so you will not miss a single one of our 96 routines, 96 scoring routines that we'll have tonight in the Keystone Classic.
So much gymnastics going on here, and I have to say, just from the top, I love Pitt's Leo. So let us know on Twitter or X which Leos you're really enjoying tonight as we get into this action. Good fight through that back handspring layout, step out to start.
Top left, this is Summer Ruski starting her floor routine for the Owls.
Jessica Johansson getting started for Penn State on bars there. Good to Kachev.
And here's our first vault. Isabel Song for Penn. With the Yurchenko full, they've got 5 Yurchenko fulls in their lineup, and 1 half. Kirsten Belkoff will have the half.
Oh gosh, and Duke just missed her foot on that takeoff for the round off. Too bad. Good start for Penn State though, really solid routine to get them started there.
Ruski getting ready for her last pass. She'll go round off, backhand spring, double pike.
And I thought she might have been just a little short there, but she did a great job of stepping into that controlled landing position.
Good pike position, and looked like the floor came up on her a little bit fast.
Maddie Johnston waiting here to get started for Penn State.
And Marissa Lassiter on vault for Penn. Another Yurchenko full.
And Emily Todd getting set here for Pitt on beam.
Bit of a step on that landing for Marissa Lassiter.
Yeah, not quite the height that I've seen her get on some of her Yurchenko fulls, but really strong opening season for her last year as a freshman, and really she's going to continue to build. I think she's going to be a star for Penn. Can't wait to see her on floor.
Lassiter was the vault alternate late insert into the lineup, replacing Rose DeBarberry. Emily Todd getting started on beam for Pitt.
And Todd, an international elite from England, bringing that international experience. Of course, Copperwheat, also from England. Good connection there, just a little bit of soft knees in that switch split to split jump. And good correction, looked a little off there, but covered it in the series. Nice recovery routine for Pitt as Johnson's working through this routine. Some legs apart in that double back, but drilled that landing.
And Sarah Kenefick with a nice Yurchenko full on vault. We do have our first few scores in. Jessie Johansson for Penn State scoring a 9.775. And Kennedy Duke on that fall on beam to start gets a 9.025.
Yeah, difficult way for Pitt to start, but, you know, impressed with the way that Emily Todd came back, got them on the right track. Rare moment of calm here in our quad.
It's very seldom you have 20 seconds without a routine in a quad meet.
Absolutely.
You get a look at this Pitt team under the direction of first-year head coach Casey Jo McPherson, and there's the other team with the first-year head coach Temple, led by Hillary Steele. And them starting on floor, it's a good opportunity for them to get started on the right foot. It was their best event last year, but one where they kind of started a little bit slow and had to build toward a much better finish to the season. Ended up setting a program record last year, 49.4 on this event. Here is Jordan Barrow, Yurchenko full. She's got a big vault, good air, big hop, couldn't control the landing.
And you know, a problem I never had in my gymnastics career was having too much power. That's what we refer to as a good problem to have, but still, you know, a lot of potential there, just needs to work on honing in that power.
Madison Durunda getting set on floor for Temple.
And Alina Varova here for Penn State on bars. Carla Ferzoko for Pitt on beam. Clean series there on beam. Oh, difficult. Yeah, tough loss on that full turn on bars.
And Durunda stepping out of bounds on her first pass on floor.
And just a reminder, folks, NCAA gymnastics 6 up, 5 count. So unfortunately, this does mean that Pitt is going to be counting a fall. Sky
Kuriko on vaults for Penn. coming off an ankle roll last year. Yurchenko full, and she just drops to her knees. It has been a tough start for Penn on vault and for Pitt on beam tonight.
A nice dismount there, good for her to end on a good note, but yeah, not the momentum Pitt was looking for here at the start of this meet.
Some of this is what you tend to see in season opening meets, right? There's
Absolutely.
jitters and there's warming up.
It's January 5th, you know, so I wouldn't put too much concern on any of these mistakes. Just getting out there, you know, that you're going to have some of these growing pains, and now each of these teams has had some adversity early on in this meet that they are going to have to contend with.
Got some more scores in to share with you. Maddie Johnston with a 9.8 on bars for Penn State. A reminder, Jessica Johansson has a 9.775 for the Nittany Lions. And Kennedy Duke with a 9.025 after her leadoff fall on beam for Pitt. This is Kirsten Belkoff, who will round out the vault lineup for Penn. This will be the lone Yurchenko half in the lineup, everybody else competing a full.
And she's very experienced here, solid for Penn. We're going to keep an eye on that form in the air on these Yurchenko halves and fulls. In the laid out position, obviously you want to see that straight line, no bend in the hips.
She has been consistent on vault as the anchor.
Oh, great air time there. Little bit of knee bend coming in, but I love her body position off the table and the block that they get. Remember, that block is that push you get off the table. And the moniker that we use in gymnastics is flip, then twist. You want to see them going up and then twisting. And she did a good job there.
So that wraps up Penn's vault lineup. They are done in rotation one. They've got a couple of exhibitions we'll keep an eye on as well. Marigold Garrett and Campbell Marr scheduled to exhibition for Penn. But we'll switch to the try box for now.
And coming up next for Penn State as an athlete, I've been really excited to see Kalia McGilligot. Some leg separation in that Maloney and in the Pack Salto. Does connect it though. And shy on that half pirouette on the low bar. That's a tricky one. Nice routine to get her career started in Penn State, get them back on the right foot.
Meanwhile, Jordan Ewing on beam for Pitt.
And I absolutely love to watch her on beam. Such a powerful athlete. And fierce on that landing because she was a little bit off with that back leg, but she just said, not today.
Hannah Stallings on floor for Temple. Round off 1.5 to the front layout.
Oh, and I believe she was intending to connect those two leaps, so we'll have to keep an eye on her start value. She was a little off on the first leap, so did not connect that to the second. Oh. A nice recovery. I like that combination into the dismount.
And so we'll see if Ewing is credited with that connection or not. In your eyes, you don't think so?
Yeah, just she was off. I think it was a smart decision for her not to go for that connection because she was off in the first element. So I don't. They shouldn't give it to her.
Hannah Stallings, front handspring, Rudy, right into a split jump.
Little lack of control in that split jump, but I love the connection out of the Rudy.
Back to our quad box again. Penn is going to have a couple of exhibitions on vault. This will be Marigold Garrett. She'll have a Yurchenko half. Keep you updated on scores as best we can. Kalia McGilligot with a 9.675 for the Nittany Lions on bars. Here's Garrett.
And this is actually Campbell Marr here with that tuck off. That's that 9-9 start. Ava Piedrahita here on bars. Piedrahita, such a star for Penn State in her freshman season. Qualified to regionals on vault, but really strong all-arounder.
She will be a ton of fun when we get to the vault.
Oh, I think she just trying to stick it just a little too hard there, had to step out of it, but she's so solid. And speaking of stars, I know a lot of gymnastics fans have been excited for the return of Araya Simmons, grad transfer from Illinois, out last season with an Achilles. We're going to see her on bars and beam tonight, but the coaching staff told me they are working her back on the other events, and she looked great in warm-up, so I absolutely cannot wait to see her in her debut for Pitt.
She's coming up on beam in the 5 spot. Here is Peyton Monk, one of the newcomers for Temple, on floor, making her college debut. There's Simon's top right. An Achilles rupture that actually happened at an event. Her now head coach, Casey Jo McPherson, was part of it. It was at Mizzou that she hurt her Achilles. And after that meet, she did not compete again for the rest of the season, and so finally back.
And such a difficult injury to come back from. And coming up on bars for Penn State, this is some great, this is what I love about quad meets. This is some great gymnastics side by side here. Cassidy Rushlow, just picture perfect on bars. Simon's here gearing up for her series, back handspring layout, step out.
Ooh.
Hangs on,
almost
I
saved
her.
it.
Oh my goodness.
It was so close.
And look at Cassidy Rushlow's toe point. This is, I'm jinxing gymnasts right and left here. I apologize to them. I'm not worthy.
Well, let's see Peyton Monk in her college debut on floor for Temple.
Nice
Beautiful
control.
first pass.
Simons hangs on to that dismount. Too bad. But, you know, again, getting back out there. Beautiful Jaeger by Cassidy Rushlow, though. You can see the qualities I'm talking about. Individual qualifier to nationals last year, Rushlow was on bars.
And Monk's got her toughest pass coming up. Front handspring. Front double lay.
Front double twist. But yeah, that was really nice. Nicely done. Great debut for her.
Update on scores for Temple on floor. We've got 3 scores in. Hannah Stallings has the high score at 9.675, followed by Summer Ruski at 9.525, and Madison Derunda at 9.425. Penn State's got 5 scores reporting on bars, led by Maddie Johnston at 9.8, Jessie Johansson at 9.775, Kalia McGilligot and Ava Piedrahita at 9.675, and Alina Varova at 9.125. Right now, the only score reporting on beam for Pitt is Kennedy Duke's 9.025.
Yeah, as you mentioned, you know, some adversity from all these teams in the first rotation. And Penn State, we're going to look at Maggie Mace here. This is an exhibition, so as a reminder, these exhibition routines are scored, but they do not count towards the team score. And getting a look at Hallie Copperwheat gearing up on beam for Pitt. And, you know, difficult position for her to be in, but she's such a solid competitor. You know, she's an all-arounder, really even across the floor, but if I had to pick a favorite event of hers, for me, it's beam.
Yeah, regional beam qualifier each of the last 2 years. She was the Eagle Rookie of the Year 2 years ago.
Nice Maloney there from Mace to start. Some leg separation in that pack salto. Copperwheat getting started here.
Pitt really needs a hit to round this out.
Switch split to split jump, clean there. Nice finish from Mace on bars. She's such a smooth and confident beam worker, Copperwheat is. And if I'd had to guess, I would say she's not going to go for the double turn. You know, it is really risky at this point in the, in the lineup. Back handspring layout, step out. Really solid.
Well, here's the turn. Either a full or a double here.
Yeah, smart decision. As much as I love to see her double turn, at this point in the rotation, more important for her to get it hit clean in there.
They just need a hit for scoring.
And that's what I'm taught. The maturity in her work is that you're not always going to be perfect on every skill. She took her time and she made the correction through the beam. She didn't panic. She just made the correction and kept moving, minimize that deduction.
Looks like just such a steady heartbeat through this routine.
You know, not the cleanest I've ever seen her on beam, but it's a hit. It's getting them on that right foot moving into the next rotation.
And that's something I think if you're Casey Jo McPherson, as experienced as she is, not only competing but coaching on beam, that you talk about. Watch what Hallie does on this apparatus, how calm she is, and how, I guess, deliberate she is on each move.
Absolutely.
Renee Shugman on floor for Temple.
And this is a fun routine.
Hit a career high 9.925 last year. Competed in the NCAA regionals on floor. Closing with the double pike. Trinity Moonsisumang on beam on an exhibition for Pitt.
Yeah, just a little bit shy on that final double pike for Temple, but overall really nice routine.
So we have one more scoring routine left in this rotation. After Trinity Moonsisumang for Pitt on beam on an exhibition, Brooke Donabedian will go on floor to round out the lineup for Temple.
A nice back handspring layout step out there. Of course, the acrobatic series, one of the requirements, and back handspring layout step out, the most common one we will see in college gymnastics.
College debut for her, even though it's an exhibition. She had missed last year, tore her ACL last December. So making her college debut as a sophomore now.
Clean dismount there. Some really nice elements through that routine. I like she's an aggressive beam worker. And Raina Garvey, who has contributed a lot to this Penn team. Out with just a minor injury. You know, Casey Jo McPherson told me she's going to be worked back. They just want to be conservative about that. I'm sorry, for Pitt. A lot of teams going on here, folks. So, you know,
and a lot of P sounds.
A lot of P's. They're congregated in the alphabet nicely, which is good for my organization. But yes, excuse me if I have a slight snafu with name matching. But yes, anyway, Raina Garvey for Pitt. She will be back later this season. They're just trying to be conservative coming back from that minor injury.
Pitt, Penn State in the Palestra in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
That's why you're the play-by-play and I'm the color commentator.
Could write a tongue twister, but we don't have the time in the midst of the quad meet chaos. Here is Brooke Donabedian getting ready to go on floor for Temple. The Owls will also have an exhibition on floor. Hannah Weckler is scheduled to go in what would be her college debut as well.
And Brooke Donabedian, I can't come up with enough superlatives to talk about her floor. What I would say about her floor is it is the standard when it comes to artistry, performance quality in NCAA, as well as just exquisite form, particularly on her dance. That's what I want folks to keep an eye on. Remember that dance is evaluated just as heavily as the tumbling. She's really beautiful. Didn't have her best performance at regionals. She did qualify as an individual to regionals. I certainly think she is capable of qualifying to nationals if she hits her best on her best day. So I'm really excited to see her season debut here.
A show-stopping performer on floor at her best. She had 5 event titles last year. All of them were 9.9 or better, including tying her own school record of 9.95.
Look at her toe point in the open position. This is what I'm talking about.
Completely fair for you to geek out at the start of her routine.
Nice control in that layout step out. I love that combo. Tour jeté, gorgeous. Not a lot of folks can do that leg up turn.
This will be her most challenging acro pass. Front handspring, front double.
And maybe just a hair shy of rotation on that double full. You know, the thing about the 2-pass routines, particularly with an athlete like Brooke, she builds her difficulty through her dance. You saw her doing some of those difficult turning ring elements. She did the leg up turn. So she builds her, she doesn't have to do the 3-pass routine. You know, a lot of controversy going on. Should folks be allowed to do 2-pass versus 3-pass routines? My own personal opinion is if you have difficult dance, like an E-dance element in there, I love to see that variety. I love to see gymnasts building their difficulty in different ways, but I do want to see difficulty in dance if you're gonna have 2 passes.
Well, it's nice in every event when you see routines that aren't cookie cutter, and
Absolutely.
having gymnasts who can do that, who can score on a 2-pass routine, it's a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
We do have some scoring updates to get you. Peyton Monk, the high scorer so far on floor for Temple at 9.825. Looks like they will almost certainly drop Madison Durunda's 9.425 after what Brooke Donabedian just showed us. 9.525 from Summer Ruski. Hannah Stallings a 9.675. Renee Shugman with a 9.7. Looks like some of the scores on vault are slow coming for Penn. We only have the 9.775 reporting from Isabel Song. For Penn State, all of their scores are in. They'll drop Alina Varova's 9.125. From top to bottom, Maddie Johnston with a 9.8. Jessie Johansson a 9.775. Kalia McGilligot with a 9.675. Ava Piedrahita also with a 9.675. Maggie Mace a 9.425, and Cassidy Rushlow with a 9.25. Check that. They are including Varova's exhibition score,
And actually,
or Mace's exhibition
yes.
score. Okay, so they will drop Varova's 9.125. And then for Pitt on beam, they've got a 9.65 from Emily Todd. Jordan Ewing with a 9.525. Kennedy Duke 9.025. Carla Ferzacco with an 8.8.
And if you want to follow along with the stats, you can check out the Vertius platform. That's the stat platform. You can look at things by team, by event, so check it out. But yes, exhibition scores are on that as well, so you can see what those scores are. Even if they aren't counting, good to see how they are scoring, because those are athletes that might break into lineups.
So here is Hannah Weckler hoping to break into the Temple floor lineup at some point. Her college debut.
And I didn't see a flag go up, so I think she was in there.
Looked tight on her right heel, but I think she kept it in.
Didn't get that wolf turn all the way around. Layout. Nice closing pass there. Really good to see her in that exhibition spot. Just a couple of dance places that could be cleaner, but overall, nice routine.
So that takes us to the end of our first rotation at the Keystone Classic. Lots of fun to start off the 2024 NCAA gymnastics season. Again, Penn started on vault, Penn State on bars, Pitt began on beam, and Temple on floor. Those are your scores after the first rotation. We will keep you updated throughout our meet tonight. As we head to rotation at number 2, Temple will go to the vault, Penn to bars, Penn State to beam, and Pitt will be in the floor exercise. That's coming up next. Rotation number 2 from the Palestra in Philadelphia. All right, ready for rotation at number 2 from the Palestra in Philadelphia. There are the Penn State Nittany Lions warming up on beam. Temple will go to vault, Penn to bars, and Pitt to the floor exercise. Let's take a look at what we saw in the first rotation of our season opening meet tonight in Philly.
And this Yurchenko half for Penn here, the highlight of the rotation there. And this double layout was really nice from Jessica Johansson there. Pitt had some difficulties on beam, but ended on a strong note with Hallie Copperwheat's routine. They're going to be looking to bounce back as they move to floor. And Temple similarly had some good routines in the mix, also did struggle with some landings and some endurance issues. So, you know, each team has faced some adversity in this first rotation that they're going to have to regroup and kind of start afresh with.
Yeah, your high score from the first event as far as the teams go from first rotation is Temple and Penn tied at 48.675. Penn State at 48-175, and then Pitt trailing after a difficult first rotation on beam. They scored a 47-1. They had 3 falls, so had to count 2 of those. Take a look at our second rotation. First, we'll start with Temple on vault to start, on vault in the second rotation, and almost all Yurchenko fulls. What's all Yurchenko fulls are halves for them.
Yeah, really nice to see them getting that difficulty. There are several vaults to replace from last season. You know, I think Aresta, Shugman, they're providing key leadership here for them. Again, going to be looking for that block on all of these vaults that's catapulting up in the air, and then the twisting form, particularly for those layout vaults, to see them keeping that hip angle open and extended.
Aresta and Shugman, you mentioned, they are the only 2 returnees to this vault lineup from a year ago.
Absolutely.
Penn had a pretty big loss on bars as well. McKaylee Marr, who's taken her grad transfer year to Michigan.
Absolutely, and you know, McKaylee Marr is such a star for them. Of course, her sister Campbell Marr still on the team. We saw her in exhibition on vault, and we'll see her on beam later tonight. But you know, I think for Penn, they still have some really strong routines. Sarah Kennefic has a flyaway double full that I just absolutely love. Carrico, some other new returners who are really strong.
Penn State could be a lot of fun on beam as well. They've got some really interesting new pieces to that lineup, and they also have one of the breakout stars potentially. Also have one of the breakout stars potentially in Isabella Salcedo. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Second rotation coming up after this. Again, it'll be Temple on vault, Penn on bars, Penn State on beam, Pitt on floor. Philadelphia Keystone Classic second rotation. Temple to vault, Penn on bars, Penn State on beam, and Pitt on floor. Alongside Christina Chauvenet, I'm Andrew Luftglass, and again to reset our scores, Penn and Temple tied in the lead after the first rotation at 48-675. As Temple gets its first vault, Hannah Weckler. That's tough to go right from the exhibition spot on floor right into the leadoff on vault.
Yeah, and got a nice block on that, some directionality, a reminder that those lines are there to guide the judges to indicate that they're out of bounds, but there is not a specific amount associated with it like there is on floor. Ava Piedrahita here on beam, getting Penn State started. Difficult start for Penn State on bars, so they are looking to reset here.
And on floor, this is Pitt and Kennedy Duke in the leadoff.
Really clean routine for Piedrahita here so far. Nice switch half there. Sarah Kennefic getting Penn started on bars. Nice to Kacha for Kennefic as Piedrahita does a great job on her dismount there.
Duke with a strong floor performance so far. Mentioned a bounce back she's trying to recover after a fall on beam to lead off in the first rotation.
And that's the dismount that I was talking about, double layout flyaway. You don't see that very much anymore. A bit of an old school throwback dismount. Connects that to that full pirouette, so that does meet the up to the level. Absolutely love that. She had some errors in form throughout the routine, but overall, nice job.
Amelia Budd, Yurchenko full. This is part of this very youthful Temple lineup. We mentioned that they only return 2 gymnasts to their vault lineup from a year ago, and in total 19 underclassmen, 10 of them, like Budd, are freshmen. So a lot of unknown and a lot of new in this lineup for the Owls.
Absolutely, really exciting time, rebuilding year for them for sure. especially Maul here for Penn State up next on beam. 3-star recruit as rated by College Gym News. And also trained with Cecile and Laurent Landy at World Championship Center, also where Simone Biles trains. Or Simone Biles Gym, I should say.
In good company.
Clean back handspring layout, step out there.
Madison Durunda, the Temple on vault.
Emma Davies here for Penn on bars. Would have liked to see a little more height on that Jaeger, but connects it to the overshoot nicely. Loses form a little bit on that full turn, but nailed that landing. Oh, just some direction. I think she was a little bit off on her beam, on the round off of that beam dismount. So went off to the side there. That's going to be a pretty sizable deduction. Otherwise, had some really nice, powerful beam work in there.
Now just waiting on vault for Renee Shugman for Temple. Competing Yurchenko full this year. She competed Yurchenko halves a lot of last season. So a little upgrade for her.
And you know, the half and the full, interesting because they have the same start value, so it's really the preference of the athlete. I think, to be honest, the full's a little bit easier to stick. And looked like she was a bit crunched on the table, didn't quite get the block off the table that she probably would have liked to, but still got a quick twist around in there.
Do have Amelia Budd and Madison Durunda's scores in, as well as Hannah Weckler on vaults. 9.75 each for Budd and Durunda, 9.625 for Weckler. Here's Sierra Ward, 5th year for Pitt on floor, all-Eagle first team on this event last year.
And I love to watch her on floor. And Haley Gibble on beam here. She's got some lovely beam work. Alicia Whirlin for Penn here on bars. Oh! Gosh, just off there from the back handspring. Clean routine for a hit for Penn. Some form errors, breaks in there, but overall solid routine.
Leap series for Ward. Front handspring, Rudy to close. Hannah Stallings just finishing up on vault with a Yurchenko full for Temple. This is a nice start, by the way, for Pitt on floor. When we talked to Casey Jo McPherson, she said that this was the last event she thought was really ready. 1-2 in that lineup, Duke and Ward looking pretty good.
And I love to watch Sierra Ward on floor. So powerful, not only in her tumbling, but also in her leaps. And Gibble here, glad to see that she's okay. If you've been a gymnast, we've all taken a really hard hit off beam like that, but moving through the rest of this routine, you can see some of those qualities that I really like in her. Her toe point, so pretty. You know, just off on that series. but she's one to watch for sure. She's a pretty athlete. And that's what I like about Penn State. They've got a lot of, in other sports you'd call them role players, people that come in and hit one or two events really, really well. It's exciting to see those folks in the lineup.
Yeah, consistent specialists that can come in and look, are they always going to score a 9.875, a 9.9? Maybe not, but they're going to consistently give you a 9.7, 9.75.
Absolutely.
Kennedy Duke, by the way, 9.725 in leadoff for Pitt on floor. Here's Mackenzie Aresta on vault. One of the returnees to this Temple vault lineup, and that is why she is in the anchor spot.
Yeah, and that great vault, that is an example of where the judges should be taking that half-tenth. She didn't quite hold the stick long enough to not incur that deduction. That being said, nice dynamics, probably the best dynamics that we saw from Temple.
Yeah, again, this is a new scoring change this year.
Absolutely.
Where the athletes have to hold their finish position for a full second. A little bit of an adjustment for everybody. Kaylee Larson on floor for Pitt. One of the exciting newcomers to this lineup, primarily recruited for this floor exercise routine.
And Amani Herring getting set to go here on beam. Missed a lot of last season due to injury, but she did make it back in time for the postseason, so excited to see her here. Nice landing control on floor there. Front toss into back handspring, borderline connection there, but I think the judges will give it to her. And Sophia Paris getting started on bars here for Penn. Maloney to bail to handstand. Some leg separation in that Maloney. Really difficult to keep those legs together in the Maloney. Stalter into that double back. Oh, couldn't quite hang on, but that in the Stalter looked like she didn't quite have enough momentum for it, but I do love to see that variety in NCAA. Amani Herring doing that, I stuck it, I dare you to take anything to the judges, so I like to see that.
Give you some score updates, by the way. Start on bars for Penn. Their scores in so far: Emmett Davies 9.75, Sarah Kennefic 9.675, Alicia Werlin 9.625. This will be a vault exhibition for Temple.
And that's that full-on tuck off. The interesting thing about that vault is that it's actually, you don't, in the code, the way that the code is written, you do not have to get it all the way around. You can get it 3/4 of the way around or more, so you don't have to get that all fully around to avoid deduction, and I think she got that about 3/4 of the way around there.
Vault scoring updates, by the way, for Temple: Amelia Budd and Madison Durunda, each with 9.75, as Mackenzie Aresta 9.725. Renee Shugman scores a 9.7. Hannah Stallings with a 9.675. And Hannah Weckler with a 9.625. That last exhibition, by the way, Haley Best for Temple on vaults. Balance beam scores reporting so far for Penn State. Ava Pietrahita with a 9.825 to lead right now. Ashley Mall a 9.575. Haley Gibble with a 9.15 after her fall. And getting ready for Bella Salcedo.
And Bella Salcedo, I love her style on beam. And here on bars with Zara Gazdak. little close on that to Tkachev, but kept it going into the overshoot well. Nice handstand there. Late on that pirouette. We are looking for the athletes to finish right in handstand. And again, just some landing control on the double back. And looks like a conference on beam here is causing the delay as Bedminster gets started on floor. College gym fans will remember her from her time at LIU. She's a transfer. Check out this power. Oh, and just didn't quite get that double back around. Unusual for her. I absolutely love her performance quality on this event. Just lacking some height on that layout. I've seen her be crisper with her tumbling, but again, I absolutely love her artistry. Such a fun gymnast to watch. And, you know, in her senior season as a transfer here at Pitt. So again, a lot of new faces at Pitt, not just on the coaching staff, but also some exciting transfers.
Yeah, the mantra from Casey Jo McPherson, it seemed, especially on floor, was start with routines that everybody can feel confident in and hit, which is common early in the season in college gymnastics, and then kind of build in some more of the difficulty later on. And we saw some relatively clean passes there from Bedminster. I think sometimes, to your point, she would be a little bit more powerful.
Exactly. Ray there for Skylar Carrico. Love that. Short on that handstand out of it, but such a difficult release move. Just under on that final handstand. Let's see if she can get this landing. Full twisting, double back. Not quite. But I love such a dynamic Ray. That's one of those E-rated releases on bars. Remember those E-rated releases? You get 2/10 of bonus for doing one. And of course, because it's the Ivy League, they have the Ivy. That's their paraphernalia for a hit routine.
So that finishes off the bar lineup for Penn. Waiting on Penn State's anchor on beam, that'll be Maddie Johnston. So why don't we get you the balance beam score updates as Johnston gets ready to go. So we'll hold off on those scores and watch Maddie Johnston on beam for the Nittany Lions.
And actually, this is Bella Salcedo for Penn State. Back handspring layout, step out. Just a little off on that landing, but she's so seasoned, she just kind of corrected it seamlessly. Check this out, folks. Standing front tuck, get out of here. So hard.
Emily Todd on floor, top left for Pitt.
Great routine from Bella Salcedo there. An exhibition routine here for Penn on bars.
Reagan Chang.
Couldn't quite hang on to that double back, but some nice elements in that bar routine. I couldn't quite hang on to the stick, I should say, of that double back.
Here's Todd, the freshman from Bristol, England, competing 3 of 4 events to start the year. Clean, strong landings, which is nice to see out of her. She had some shin splints that's keeping her out of the vault at the start of the year, had an ankle issue that made her questionable for the floor lineup, and it didn't seem to bother her there.
We talked earlier about floor tends to be one of those events that's like least ready, not just for Pitt, but for other teams as well, because it's a lot of endurance. These athletes had a little break over winter, so I think it's normal at this point in the season to see a little bit of shortness of landing. Maddie Johnston here. Nice, clean back handspring layout, step out. I really like her beam work. She's so calm and composed. Lack of a head release in that sheep jump, that is something where you're looking for the neck to get all the way back. But like that aerial is just, it's so controlled. It's not rushed at all. Same thing with that full turn. Just her dismount here. That's it. That's the stick right there. The holding, no movement, no lack of control in the chest position. Great job there. She came in clutch for them last season in their round 1 meet. I was commentating. They had 2 falls. She had to hit for them to advance. She did, and here she is doing it again. And then they've got the, that's the cub ears, the knit lion cub.
Lion. I don't think you can get a Nittany lion on Amazon.
But that's what, that's the paraphernalia.
Jordan Ewing in the anchor spot for Pitt on floor. All-Eagle tournament first team on this event a year ago.
Nice control out of that front layout. She's another one, such a great performer.
Their highest scoring returnee, career high 9.925.
She's such a great performer. I love her confidence. Wonderful control on that double back. Probably their strongest floor so far.
And that is the type of...
Or not so far. The end.
I'm glad that you worded it that way, because that is the type of confident finish that I'm sure is great in an anchor spot.
Yep.
But wouldn't you love that in a leadoff spot to just inject that confidence into the rest of the lineup?
Absolutely.
Now let's go back to the last landing on beam. This is Maddie Johnston. This is the textbook hold that we were talking about.
We'll see if I was right in real time. So here we go. Here's that 1.5. Let's see there. 1/1000. Boom. She held it even an extra half a tenth just to let them know. But that's what you're looking for. It's to, first of all, to show that the rest of your body is not out of control, and that you can hold it for longer than for a second or more.
And again, avoiding that new deduction, you have to hold it for a full second. Maddie Johnston doing just that in the anchor, and now Kalia McElligott exhibitioning for Penn State to wrap up the rotation.
And couldn't quite hang on to that 1.5, but she's got a ton of potential for Penn State. Just comes in with so many accolades, and when I talked to Coach Sarah Shire-Brown about her, she was just so excited about how her training had been going so far at Penn State.
So that'll take us through our second rotation of the Keystone Classic at the Palestra. Again, Temple just finishing on vault, Penn on bars, Penn State on beam, and Pitt on the floor exercise. Before we go to the third rotation, quick update on the leaders on each event. Kirsten Belkoff for Penn currently leading on vault at a 9.825. On the uneven bars, Sky Carrico for Penn leading at 9.825. Isabella Salcedo 9.9 currently in the lead on beam, and on floor Peyton Monk's 9.825 still leading the clubhouse for Temple. As we go into our third rotation, Pitt will go to vault, Temple to bars, Penn to beam, and Penn State to floor. That's coming up next when we return. Keystone Classic from the Palestra. After two rotations in the Keystone Classic in Philadelphia, here are your scores, with Temple in a narrow lead at 97-3-5, followed closely behind by the hosts Penn. In our third rotation, Pitt will go to vault, Temple to bars, Penn to beam, and Penn State to floor. Alongside Christina Chauvenet, I'm Andrew Leftglass. So good to have you with us to open this 2024 NCAA gymnastics season. Let's take a look at what we saw in our second rotation here from the Palestra.
Temple, as we mentioned, on vault, that nice Yurchenko full there. You know, they lost a lot of vaults last season, so had to get some newcomers in the lineup, handled a lot of those vaults really well. And then Penn on bars, good full turn into the double back there. Again, you gotta hold, so yeah, it's hard for these athletes to not immediately celebrate with their teammates. Amani Herring here on beam. This front tuck full, such a cool dismount, holds that landing really well. Great to see her back in top form. And Pitt, I neglected to say this earlier, but Alina Cartwright, who is a Michigan State alum, she was a volunteer assistant at Michigan State. Before that was at Alaska. I know a lot of college gym fans love the artistry there. She's doing the choreography here. I absolutely loved her work. I think she's so talented.
I knew you loved her choreography at Alaska Anchorage, and now,
as did the Gymternet. I'm sure the Gymternet agrees with me.
And now a little bit easier to see in person for us on the East Coast, and we are certainly glad to watch her choreo as we did in the second rotation. Next up, again, it'll be Pitt on vault, Temple on bars, Penn on beam, Penn State to floor. That's coming up in our third rotation when we return on ESPN+. All set for our third rotation in the Keystone Classic from Philadelphia alongside Christina Chauvenet. I'm Andrew Leftglass. Pitt going to vault, Temple to bars, Penn to beam, and Penn State to floor. Let's do a quick check on our scores, Christina, and where everybody's tracking through two rotations.
Absolutely. So just to some math for folks, you can see in the background there the team totals. The top three teams all in that 97 range, Pitt 95. When you're thinking about that as it relates to how they're pacing, the teams that are at 97, they're pacing at 195 or above. What that ends up working out to, a 195 is a 9.75 average. And 196 is a 9.8 average per counting routine. So so we're thinking forward to regionals. We've seen over the last several years the regional cutoff be at or above 196. So obviously those scores escalate as we get closer to postseason. Most teams don't have their strongest meet at first, but just to orient us in terms of how they're pacing on scoring relative to what we're going to see later in the season.
So here is Pitt getting ready on vault. This is Lucia Jacob, who will lead things off for the Panthers. This will not be a particularly high-scoring event for them, you wouldn't expect. They've got a couple of standard Yurchenko layouts in there, 3 fulls, 2 layouts, and 1 handspring front pike half from the NC State transfer Shruti Anand.
And Kirsten Belkoff getting started here on beam for Penn.
And Alyssa Kramer on floor for Penn State.
And unfortunately, Madison Durunda just took a fall there in the leadoff spot for Temple on bars. Oh gosh, and a fall on beam as well.
Here's Jacob. Here's the Yurchenko lay.
Durunda gearing up for her dismount here. Good for her. Nice recovery on that dismount. And actually same on beam for Belkov. Unfortunately, obviously not the start those two teams wanted.
And for Alyssa Kramer, a nice start in her college debut on floor for the State College native. Going to school right in her hometown.
Almost looked like she was going to under-rotate that layout step out, but she whipped it around. Good for her.
Floor is supposed to be her best event. And leading off as a freshman for the Nittany Lions. On vault for Pitt, this is the much anticipated Norwegian national team member Julie Madzo.
So excited to see her in her day. I love to see more international gymnasts in NCAA. Only going to compete the layout tonight, but Casey Jo McPherson did tell me she's working towards that full, can do the full, but I think it's a smart decision. You know, it's January 5th. They don't need to push all the difficulty right now. They can slow the gymnasts into it.
This is the only event that she is scheduled to compete today. There was some thought that she might compete in the bar lineup as well, but right now only slated to be in their vault lineup. The hope from Casey Jo McPherson is she will be ready at some point to do all four and be an all-arounder, but had a little bit of a groin strain, so taking it slow with her, especially at the start of the year.
And Madison Elmore here on bars for Temple.
First time for her in this bar lineup since last January after an Achilles injury.
And a tricky spot to be in, but is handling it really well. Moved through, nice swing on that Tkachev, short on that last handstand. Good for her. Set them back on the right foot. Anna Kenefek here on beam for Penn. Twin sister of Sarah Kenefek.
Here's Madzo again with the Yurchenko lay.
And yeah, you can see she's over-rotating that. But good for her to get that out there. Super solid series there for Kenefek on beam.
Big double tuck from Varova on floor.
Oh gosh, too bad. You know, the straddle quarters can be tricky. Landing sideways on the beam is no joke. Good recovery.
I think Penn State's going to be very pleased with that from Alina Varova, the Latvian in the number 2 spot in their floor lineup.
And fun fact, her dad was the 2000 Olympic floor champion. So some tumbling chops in her DNA, but also obviously has worked super hard, and great to see her thriving in NCAA.
Yeah, she is going to be super fun to watch this year. She'll be in The vault lineup for Penn State in the 4th rotation as well as their leadoff. Speaking of vault, this is Sierra Ward. She'll go Yurchenko layout full.
And boy, can she put this one into the rafters. You know, she's another one that, if anything, she has trouble controlling her power, so we'll see what she does here.
You could see that earlier tonight in her floor routine. Here we go.
Just that step. I actually think she might have been trying to go a little too hard for the stick, but I love the dynamics, and in my opinion, that is not rewarded enough in NCAA gymnastics. We should be, getting that height and distance is just as important as the landing, and she really has those superior dynamics in her vault.
Do you think there's an overemphasis, perhaps, on the landing?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that. Yes, I do. I think
that only a little bit of a leading question.
Yes, absolutely. I think that those other aspects are just as important. Reese DeHaan here for Temple on bars.
The rest of the elements of the vault are just, I think, they're victimized by how easy it is to see the landing.
Really nice routine there for DeHaan.
Here is a fun floor routine, Eva Piedrahita.
And look at this. Oh, wow. Van Horn just did such a tricky connection there. Front aerial to front handspring was a little off on the front aerial, but she kept that connection. Love the difficulty.
Piedrahita, big twist.
She's so powerful, Piedrahita.
Her staple event is coming up next rotation. Stay tuned. She's going to anchor on vault. 6th at Nationals last year.
And you know what? Van Horn had that, mistake-ish on her front series, but front aerial to front handspring, so difficult. I don't know if anybody else is doing that in NCAA. I love to see that variety. Van Horn traditionally has been in their vault lineup, but great to see her on beam here.
For Pitt, this is Shruti Anand, the NC State transfer.
Oh, and Piedrahita steps out there. Yeah, uncharacteristic for Piedrahita to step out. But again, you know, early in the season, to be honest, I'd much rather see athletes stepping out than landing a little under.
We just saw Shruti Anand, we mentioned before, with that handspring front pike half on vault. And you saw her quite a bit at NC State as well. And
she does alternate between the pike and the pike half. You know, it's a trade-off because the pike is only out of a 9-9, the pike half out of the 10-0. But again, kind of tricky to get that half twist around as we saw there. So always a risk-reward situation.
Is there one in particular that you prefer for her?
Well, you know, I think for her, it's about what she can hit consistently. As we are on to Serena Whalen here on bars for Temple.
They do have two scores reporting right now. Reese DeHaan at a 9.7, Madison Elmore at a 9.675. Madison Durunda also reporting at an 8.9.
And so sorry, that was Angelina Hogan for Temple there on bars with a nice routine. Bedminster there for Pitt on vault.
She's in the 5 spot for Pitt on vault. She set the LIU vault record in her time with the Sharks at 9.875, again in her first year with Pitt, her only year after transferring for her final year of eligibility.
And yeah, she's such a powerful, dynamic athlete. Again, like I said, not a problem that I was familiar with as a gymnast, having too much power. But I hear that can be challenging. Getting a look at Campbell Marr here, getting set to mount the beam for Penn. Of course, sister Kate McKaylee at Michigan now. How cool is it to tie with a school record with your sister.
Yeah, very, very cool. And she and her sister, not only did they help tie the school record, they had back-to-back 9.95s in that record-setting day.
Unbelievable.
This is Kalia McGilligan on floor. Big, powerful landing.
Just drills that double pike.
Jeez. She's got 2 double backs in this routine. Double pike, double tuck. They get a pretty good idea of why Nittany Lion fans are excited about her.
Mar, nice dance series after a little struggle on her acrobatic series.
Kennedy Duke on vault for Pitt in the anchor spot.
And just a little under-rotated on that full twist in Yurchenko, but controls the landing. And Sarah Stallings getting set here for Temple on bars.
McGilligan double tuck. Nails it just like she did the pike. Gorgeous floor routine.
Absolutely, and Campbell Marr, hiccup on her series, but she's such a beautiful athlete to watch. Nice handstand on the low bar there for Stallings. Stallings sisters have contributed so much to Temple Gymnastics. Wow, really nice handstand on that pirouette. And she's holding it. She is not going to let that one go. Good for her. Dynamic routine. And again, that full pirouette into the double back. Remember, for up to the level, you have to do, if you are going to do a C or D dismount, you have to do it in combination. She does that full turn. A lot of gymnasts have trouble landing that full turn in handstand, and she did a great job there.
And one of the standouts on this event for Temple throughout the last few years. In the 5 spot for them on bars. So Serena Whalen, somebody else who Hillary Steele is excited about on this event, will be coming up in the anchor spot. Here's Bella Salcedo
And
on floor for Penn State.
I'm glad to see her rewarded for her beam because she has this really cool aggressive style on beam that I really like. She reminds me of Shawn Johnson, throwback for some old school gymnastics fans, just that really powerful, aggressive beam style, and she's just got so many tricks. We're going to see that same power from here on floor.
Oh no, is Shawn Johnson a throwback now? Are we in that era?
I'm afraid she is.
Oh goodness.
Skylar Carrico on beam, and Serena Whalen on bars.
Oh wow, Isabella Salcedo.
Unbelievable power, punch double front.
We had the call with Sarah Brown a week or 2 ago, and she outlined this routine, and your immediate response would be, how do you do that from a punch?
Unbelievable. Nice job for Whalen there for Temple. Not Penn's day on beam, unfortunately.
No, it has not been anybody's day on beam. Isabella Salcedo on floor, popular breakout pick in the Big Ten. You see the power, the twisting, the artistry. The question, can she be consistent this year?
A nice finish there on beam for Carrico. Look at the height she gets on that front pike. That's the gold standard right there, folks.
Isabella Salcedo, show-stopping tumbling.
We're not worthy, honestly. I'm not worthy of commentating her routine. She is so dynamic, having such a great night. And I love when you see those combination passes, you saw how that front pike rose, and a lot of times you'll see folks do like the full into the front layout. The front layout's a little bit flat. That's what we really want to see, is seeing them continue to rise. So dynamic. just love watching her gymnastics.
She is the leader right now on beam with a 9.9. She has got to put up a pretty high score for that floor routine. Right now, Peyton Monk is your leader on floor at 9.825 for Temple. Might as well give you the event leaders. Kirsten Belkoff leading on vault for Penn, 9.825. Sarah Stallings with the just reported 9.875 on bars in the lead there. Salcedo leading on beam at 9.9, and again on floor, Peyton Monk at 9.825.
And we're in an exhibition here for Temple. Oh, just pinged the low bar, I think, on her last giant, but gets it around anyway.
Maybe Hannah Weckler on bars for Temple with that exhibition.
And Alicia Whirlin here in the anchor spot for Penn.
And Amani Herring in the anchor spot on floor for Penn State. Both of these teams will have exhibitions in these events as well.
And get ready, because Herring, like Bella Salcedo, she's a powerful one.
She's got a double Arabian, we expect, in this routine.
I saw her warm it up. Clean in that connection. Just a little hesitation on the aerial there on beam for Whirlin.
Oh. Herring on floor with the fall. Penn State does have 5 hits, though.
And Whirlin trying to end this Penn lineup on a strong note. And finessed that landing on beam. Yeah, not the routine, obviously, that she was looking for. You know, came back towards the end of the season, last season for Penn State on floor, Amani Herring, and, you know, goes for that really difficult double Arabian. Just didn't, looked like she was really low on landing. I don't know if she was anticipating the floor to be there a little bit sooner than it was, but, you know, still lots of strong things in her future. And I love the Missy Elliott in that floor routine. And Whirlin wrapping up on beam for Penn and had some, you know, some hesitations in that routine, but ended it on a high note.
So again, we've got exhibitions on both beam and floor. For beam, we're expecting Penn to exhibition with Marissa Lassiter, and Penn State on floor with Olivia Yarusi. So we'll wait on those performances.
And I'm really excited to see Marissa Lassiter on beam. She has not competed beam for Penn yet, but has been so dynamic for Penn on the other events. Probably best known for her floor work, but she's got an exciting routine planned here.
While we wait, we can get you some score updates. Event leaders, Kirsten Belkoff leads on vault for Penn, 9.825, followed closely behind by Shruti Anand's 9.8. On bars, Sarah Stallings, 9.875 leads for Temple. On beams, Salcedo's 9.9 for Penn State. And Salcedo on floor with a 9.85 to lead there as well. So here is Lassiter on beam for the Penn Quakers.
Check out this series. Oh, gosh. I really am jinxing people tonight. I apologize to these gymnasts that she was doing the back handspring layout 2 feet. Such a difficult combo. I think her hips got off in the air on that layout, and when you're coming down on 2 feet, even less room for error there.
Again, just an exhibition, so the score will not count. This will be something for Marissa to grow on.
And, you know, talked to Coach Becker about this athlete and said she had so many skills in club. You know, it's really just picking which ones are a good fit for her in college. Really has a lot of variety to choose from. Goes for that double wolf turn. Doesn't quite get that around.
There's the junior Olivia Urusi on the floor for Penn State.
Nice dismount for Lassiter. And you can see Rachel Innes there in the corner, assistant coach at Penn State and former Auburn standout. There's not quite enough gas left in the tank there for that double tuck.
Tricky at the end of a routine, and especially, again, we talked about this before, floor routines can be the hardest at the start of the season because the way that coaches and athletes build their routine throughout the course of the off season, you don't often get to that full routine composition until very close to meet one.
Absolutely, and you're not typically not taking a lot of hard landings, so they're tumbling into foam pits or maybe resi mats. That's why you get an extra 10th for landing, for finishing with a any double pike, double tuck. I mean, hypothetically double layout. I've never seen anybody end with double layout, but you could.
In theory.
In theory. So that's why, because the double saltos are really difficult. So, you know, that's something we're going to see in these early meets in the season.
Well, we got a lot of fun coming up in our fourth and final rotation. Pitt on bars, Temple on beam, Penn on floor, and you are not going to want to miss the end of Penn State's vault lineup. Ava Piedrahita, one of the best in the nation. That is coming up in our fourth rotation. Next to the Keystone Classic in Philly. Welcome back to the Palestra in Philadelphia, and as we head to the fourth rotation, a bit of a stunner. Temple in front. Penn State was the favorites coming into today, 25th in the nation a year ago. The Owls trying to come back from a difficult 2023 season with a new coach, Hillary Steele. 3 rotations in, they look pretty good.
Yeah, it's really exciting to see them. I think they have had some mistakes throughout this meet, but, you know, Penn State, who were the heavy favorites coming in, really had a difficult time on bars in that first rotation, so they're inching their way back. Temple's been really consistent. We're going to see they are going to end on beam, so that's a tall order, but they have some very capable athletes. So still a hunt for the title here at the Keystone Classic.
And the third rotation had a lot to recommend. Let's take a look.
And Pitt on vault. Again, they did a mix of those layouts and the full twisting vaults. That layout Yurchenko starts at a 9.75. You know, Temple, nice job on bars. You're seeing this full turn into the double pike. Really good job there from Madison Elmore. Campbell Marr, absolutely stunning beam worker. Did have a couple of uncharacteristic bobbles in that routine, but I really love her beam work. Difficult rotation overall for Penn, though, on beam. And for Penn State, I loved this pass. The 1.5 to layout step out, unusual. You don't see that all the time in NCAA, but really strong overall for Penn State across the board.
So we're heading to our fourth rotation to wrap this thing up. Penn State to vault, Pitt to bars, Penn to floor, and we'll see if Temple can hang on to the lead on beam. All right, ready to go with our fourth and final rotation. Keystone Classic at the Palestra in Philadelphia. Alongside Christina Chauvenet, I'm Andrew Luftglass, and as we go to the fourth rotation, Temple somewhat surprisingly in the lead, but they will go to beam, which is a very difficult apparatus, and it's also one in which they're replacing some lineup spots, and they've got a senior in Mackenzie Aresta, you don't see this too often, making her debut on an event in the leadoff spot.
Yeah, and I absolutely love that. Love to see athletes being able to mature throughout their time, grow in the events that they're competing. I think it's just really exciting.
And we'll want to hang on throughout this rotation because the last vault for Penn State, which could be a big difference maker in scoring with how tight this is between Temple and Penn State. Ava Piedrahita, who's one of the best in the nation on that event.
And a really strong lineup across the board for Penn State on vault as well.
Yeah, they've got a real good chance to catch Temple with how good that vault lineup is. Temple, though, don't sleep on their beam, was one of their best events last year. Hillary Steele thinks they have great depth this year.
Jordan Ewing on bars for Pitt.
Alina Varova leading off for Penn State with that handspring front pike. Now that starts from a 9-9 start value, so it's not going to be the highest scoring necessarily, but Sarah Brown really likes how consistent she is there.
Ewing, really strong start for Pitt there, aggressive in those handstands. Oh, hangs on to that jump.
Kirsten Belkoff on floor for Penn, by the way. A couple new elements in this routine this year. New leap series, upgraded to a Rudy layout from a Rudy to stag jump that she had last year.
Nice dismount for Aresta there.
McGilligan on vault.
And that's one of those teeny scoop backs that'll probably be a half a tenth, but nice form in that Yurchenko full. And again, that brief moment of calm in between routines here.
So seldom we get to catch our breaths in a quad meet. As many quads as I've done. Never really sat down and thought about 96 routines.
It's a lot of routines.
In like 2 hours.
It's an absolute honor and a pleasure to be bringing you all of these routines.
We are here for it.
Kennedy Duke on bars here. Maloney to pack, some leg separation in that pack salto, but nice connection. Renee Shugman on beam here for Temple.
Maddie Johnston, 1.5 tucked for Penn State.
A nice routine for Pitt on beam. And look at that, the aerial to scale. So tricky, done in combination, really challenging. And a nice landing there, good routine for Shugman. It's that difficult combination she goes for with the aerial and clean work throughout that routine. Hillary Morrow there. As you mentioned, that new first season head coach, a great beamer in her own right, by the way, from her time at the University of Georgia.
Two-time NCAA champ with the Gym Dogs.
Absolutely.
Here's Isabella Salcedo.
And she's doing that Omelion check. Big air time there. Same vault we're going to see from Piedrahita. And it's really tricky because the rotation comes onto the table. It's hard to get that push off the table. I noticed better dynamics from her here than I saw last season, so good for her.
Like this in this Penn State vault lineup too. A little bit of a break from the Yurchenkos.
Exactly. Araya Simons here. Again, so exciting to see her back. Full turn. Pretty nice handstand position. Open position in that double back just to show I don't need to hold on to my legs. I got this. Congratulations to her for being back.
Zara Gazdak on floor and just a step out for Penn. Remember Simons, former standout at Illinois, second team All Big Ten a few years ago, coming back from an Achilles injury for her 5th and final year of eligibility.
Megan White here comes from a gymnastics family. Sister was a gymnast at Bridgeport. Mom also a collegiate gymnast.
May one day carry on the family tradition as a leadoff, but today in the 3 spot.
And tough break for her there as well. Beam has not been kind today, as it often is not in season openers.
Jessica Johansson, late add to this vault lineup.
And was crunched on the table, didn't get that block that she needed. I thought she had some bent elbows on the table, just came in short.
Big double pike by Gazdak that looked like she almost over-rotated.
And it over-rotated that first pass as well, but a lot of promise there. Tough break for Megan White on beam.
Sarah Stallings, by the way, on beam has taken over for the event lead, 9.875. So that surpasses Skylar Carrico's 9.825 for Penn. Check that on the uneven bars, beg your pardon. On beam, Salcedo still with the 9.9 in the lead.
Faith Lero here for Pitt. I know it sounds like a broken record, some leg separation on the Maloney. So difficult to keep your legs together in that Maloney, but that is the standard. Does that difficult double front. Yeah, she didn't quite stick it, but so hard doing that turn into the double front. I love to see that.
Sometimes gymnasts get the benefit on the leg separation on the Maloney, right? Because we have a good vantage point with our camera position to see that.
It's
Judges
true.
don't always have that from the side.
That is true. Although I do think they could be a little bit more precise in taking the deduction. That's beside the point.
Here is Eva Piedrahita.
And that's one of those kind of probably half-tenth hops there. She can stick that vault. Of course, so difficult to do out of the Omelion check, but has such great form on that vault.
Reached the national championship meet with that vault last year. Placed 6th at nationals. First postseason All-American for the Nittany Lions in a decade.
Yeah, I mean, she's got so much promise for Penn State. I can imagine that her career will continue to climb.
Sarah Kennefic on floor for Penn. Ooh, and just a little bit out of bounds from Kennefic on that first pass.
Oh, gosh, and a fall on beam for Gerunda, going for that difficult triple series.
And boy, and as consistent as Penn State was in that vault lineup, That puts a lot of pressure on Sarah Stallings and Brooke Donabedian to close out on beam for Temple. Sarah Dewey on exhibition for Penn State on vault.
There's that tucked full. That's a 9-9 start value. Nice job, good dynamics overall. And Emily Todd gearing up here on bars for Pitt. Piked Jaeger, nice height on that one. That piked Jaeger is an E compared to the straddle, which is a D. Rocks that handstand position on the low bar. A nice handstand position in that full pirouette. Oh, I was hoping she would hang on to that stick, that small step, but dynamic bars from Emily Todd. I absolutely loved it.
She's in that 5th spot for Pitt on bars. Jalea Bedminster will round out that lineup for the Panthers. It's been a really nice 4th rotation for them. I know they started slow on beam today. They had 3 falls in the first rotation. How have you felt about the way they've rebounded in the last 3 rotations?
Yeah, you know, I mean, I think starting your first meet of the season on beam is really tricky, and to have that momentum, to turn around that momentum, it's not an easy thing to do. I've been really impressed with their grit and their resilience coming back. This is a rebuilding season for Pitt, but I think I'm really impressed with the trajectory they've had throughout the meet.
Realistically, is it more pressure on you? Meet 1 under Casey Jo McPherson, as dynamic as she was on beam, to try to impress your head coach a little bit on that apparatus?
My sense is that she's pretty laid back, so I'm not sure they have, but maybe intrinsically, who knows.
But when your coach can still turn.
Sarah Stallings here on beam for Temple. I love that releve we see from her right off the top. Look at that. Jalea Bedminster getting started for Pitt here in that anchor spot. Oh, too bad for Stallings. Little labored swing up there for Bedminster, but keeps it moving. And just a little shy on that last handstand for Bedminster. Double layout. Wow, she's powerful. Great double layout. You know, she's more probably known for her vault and her floor, but really dynamic bar worker, just some places to clean up within that routine, but great dismount.
Olivia Van Horn is getting ready on floor for Penn.
And Stallings, nice dismount. I really like her beam work, but just not her day.
New routine this year for Van Horn.
And if you haven't seen Olivia Van Horn on floor, get ready, because she's a powerhouse.
A little bit too much power there on the double front.
I can only apologize to these gymnasts for jinxing them. And you see her do that round off layout step out. That is to fulfill the back tumbling requirement. So when athletes are building their bonus, their main tumbling passes through front tumbling only, they have to do back tumbling throughout. So you see that round off layout step out in occasionally.
There's a lot of front tumbling in this whole routine, as you see.
Nice clean pass there. Yeah, just struggled on that opening pass. But hopefully we'll see that get more consistent later in the season.
Exhibition for Pitt on bars.
Oh, and Think was going for a full turn there.
looks to be Julie Mazzo, which would be an unplanned exhibition. We were given to understand, remember the Norwegian national team member, she had strained her groin, so there's the hope that she's going to be an all-arounder this year. The thought today was she'd only compete vault and bars for Pitt, so we're seeing her on bars in an exhibition.
Oh, just, yeah, not her day with this routine. And you know what? Smart decision, because when you don't want to risk anything, and it looks like she was just off twice. No, it's an exhibition also. The score is not counting. So, you know, again, time to ramp up.
Yeah, you just punt on that exhibition at a certain point.
Absolutely.
Meanwhile, looks like Brooke Donabinian and the anchor on beam. Good save.
And that ring jump is so difficult, or stag jump, excuse me, so difficult. And she shows that same quality she does on floor. Look at the extension through the aerial. And she was a little bit off on that aerial, but such a calm and collected beam worker that she just kind of works through it, keeps the connection. Really critical to keep those connections on beam. Remember, the gymnasts on, besides vault, which have fixed start values, the gymnasts start at a 9-4. They have to build their way up with difficulty from different families of difficulty, and that's why that acrobatic combo is so important. It's one of the required combinations. Didn't quite stick it. I've seen her be a little crisper on beam. However, given the circumstances, phenomenal job.
I think it looked like also she didn't hold for the full second. And we're talking about sticks.
True.
It may be the case, especially early in the year, when you have a routine that has some challenges in it. You might revert back to your old habits.
Sure.
You want to stick and get out of there.
Sure.
Got to remember to hold for that full second.
Right.
Marissa Lassiter on floor for Penn.
And get ready. I saw this routine in warm-up. I love it. Unusual combination. Front layout full to front tuck full.
There's a lot of fun dance in these Penn routines.
And showing it off for the home crowd. And they absolutely love it. The crowd is going wild here. That's a controlled lunge right there. Oh, she's so fun to watch. Good for her. So fun. That is what artistry is. Artistry is committing yourself to the routine and embracing the musicality of it, and I absolutely love how she did that in that routine.
Such a performer.
Absolutely.
This will be an exhibition for Temple on beam. Summer Ruski.
A difficult front toss there. And nice dismount there. Again, the exhibition routines are not counting towards that team score, just getting those routines out there. Not the way that Temple wanted to end on beam, but they've got some really bright spots in this meet to be proud of.
And Penn has to be very pleased with Marissa Lassiter. And that last pass on floor, boy, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, she's so dynamic. And look at this, she's showing off the choreography. And, you know, I think when we think of artistry, typically a lot of folks will tend to think of sort of a really like traditional ballet style. And while I love that, I also really love the contemporary style of artistry that's getting so popular in NCAA.
We are seeing so much more of it, and it is such a breath of fresh air.
Absolutely.
Emma Davies in the anchor spot on floor for Penn. They are also supposed to have an exhibition on this event before we close today. There's her big double pike.
Drills that double pike.
Controlled lunge there.
Borderline.
That's where you might get that half tenth.
Yeah, maybe a half
deduction.
tenth, yeah. And good for her for getting that around because she's a little short on the front layout.
She's had that pass coming toward us the last few years, and it's been so much fun.
Nice height on those leaps. Nice control of that double back. We've seen some athletes tonight struggle with those final double salto passes. No struggle there. Obviously, it felt very good and, you know, very secure on landing. Great tumbling.
So that is the final scoring routine of the night in the Keystone Classic. Still waiting on some scores. Jackie Tunney will have the last exhibition we're expecting on floor for the Quakers. So while we can, to the extent we can, let's give you an update on our scores. First with our event leaders and our event winners. We now know Ava Piedrahita has won the vault event title today, 9.875. You would have probably picked her as the favorite coming into today. Again, she competed on vault at the national championship meet a year ago, placed 6th. So she wins with a 9.875. Predictably strong start to the year for her. Sarah Stallings, 9.875 is your winner on the uneven bars for Temple. On the balance beam, Isabella Salcedo wins with a 9.9 for Penn State. That was just a ton of fun. And right now it does look like more likely than not, we're waiting on some scores on floor, but it looks like Isabella Salcedo likely to be the floor exercise champion today as well with a 9.85. And we're not going to have to wait very long for this exhibition. Sometimes there's a bit of a delay. Jackie Tunney, let's take a look at her floor exhibition. Supposed to be a full in here.
Oh. And goes out of balance and also landed quite short. Looks like she's okay though. Sometimes I can kind of crunch the ankles a bit.
Yeah, good to see her bounce up from that.
great twisting combination there to finish. Too bad about that first pass. You know, hopefully she can work. She might have another pass in the works, maybe a double back that she can compete next to feel a little bit more comfortable. But great final pass there, the 1.5 to front full to finish.
And some aggressive tumbling from an exhibition.
Absolutely.
Freshman from nearby Freehold, New Jersey, in her college debut, Jackie Tunney. And that is how we close the Keystone Classic. We will take a short break, come back and get your scoring all set. We'll have some highlights and your official scores, event winners, and the overall winners tonight. That is coming up when we return to the Palestra in Philadelphia. Well, welcome back to the Palestra in Philadelphia. We have just concluded the Keystone Classic, and you see the teams lining up for the scores. We are in the midst, it appears, of a potential judging inquiry, so we will wait a little bit and see if we can get all of that cleared up. But again, Penn State, Pitt, Temple, Penn, fun first meet of the year. Always some challenges, Christina, when you're talking about a season opening meet. There's everything from jitters and nerves to just not being in full season form.
Absolutely. You know, first meet of the season for all of these teams. You know, most of these teams came back from winter break. Their athletes went home, had, you know, a week or so with family, and then came back. They're ramping back up. So, you know, we did see some mistakes from all of the teams tonight, but I also think that there were some really bright spots within the rotations that these teams can be really proud of.
Yeah, I think as we got into rotation 3 and rotation 4, we started to see a little bit of cleaner gymnastics, but front to back, you're just looking to build for meet 1 for the rest of the season.
Absolutely. And remember, folks, when we are taught, records do not matter in college gymnastics. So every team in the country is competing against every team in the country. And the formula for a postseason, in case you need a refresher from last season, national qualifying score, that's what you're using to qualify to postseason. 36 teams are qualifying to postseason. The formula for that goes as follows. You take your top 3 road scores, then your next 3 highest scores, whether they are home or away. You throw out the highest of those, you average those 5, bam, that's your national qualifying score. So the long and the short of it is that you only end up counting about half of, or a little less than half of your meets in the season. So, you know, for these teams that didn't have a great day today, that's fine. They can go and build on it. What is critical to remember for college gymnastics fans moving forward is that those road scores are really important because you have to count at least 3 towards your national qualifying score.
It should also be mentioned that if you don't feel like breaking out the pencil, paper, and calculator or a spreadsheet, that you could just go to roadtonationals.com and track everybody's national qualifying scores from there, as I certainly will be doing throughout the course of this season.
Absolutely.
Again, waiting for some scoring inquiries, but while we get that all squared away, let's take a look at what we saw in the 4th and final rotation tonight from Philadelphia.
And Penn State on vault has really been dynamic throughout this. In last season, it was one of their strongest events. They did an excellent job here as well. Pitt had a really nice rotation on bars. This full pirouette into that open double back. Welcome back to college gymnastics. Araya Simons, great to see her back from that Achilles tear. It looks like she's thriving at Pitt. And Temple, you know, it was a difficult time for them on beam because they came in, were kind of neck and neck with Penn State and weren't able to hold on. Had some highlights, had some pretty moments in that, but did have to count some falls. Penn, I absolutely love Penn's choreography. They had some really dynamic tumbling throughout these sets, and I think that this, for them, floor was challenging last year. It wasn't a perfect performance tonight, but they've got some good building blocks moving forward.
Yeah, their choreography, by the way, it should be mentioned, was put together by one of the dancers for the Philadelphia 76ers, who is also a student at Crosstown Temple.
There you go.
There's a little bit of rivalry going on there, but of course, again, everybody in college gymnastics competing against everybody else in college gymnastics. So to the degree that there are any rivalries, I don't think Penn and Temple, anybody's going to be too upset with a Temple student doing choreo for Penn.
Absolutely. And, you know, these teams compete with each other, against each other, if you will, all the time. And a lot of these athletes know each other, are friends with each other. And I got to say, to the choreo piece, I love when we get dancers to choreograph floor routines. You don't have to be a gymnast to choreograph a floor routine. And I think sometimes when you take somebody who doesn't necessarily come from a gymnastics background, you get something really fun, really creative, like the piece that we saw from Marissa Lassiter, and it is art. And that's what I love about gymnastics, is that it is the intersection between art and sport.
I think what you're seeing a lot in the growing popularity of the sport, if you are an outsider just getting into gymnastics, a lot of people come to it from watching a floor routine that goes viral, and it's so often less about the tumbling, even though that's a ton of fun and I love it.
Sure.
But more about the personality and artistry.
Absolutely. Well, and I wouldn't necessarily say it's personality, but it's that artistic expression and how the athletes are committing to the routine. And so that's something that's really fun to watch, and something that is, we're seeing more and more of in college gymnastics, and I think it's just wonderful.
So as we're waiting on these scores to come in, let's give you what we have so far. Let's start with the event winners, because that seems to be pretty settled from what we understand. In the all-around, which we hadn't touched on much, there were 4 athletes competing in the all-around. 2 from Penn State, 1 from Pitt, 1 from Temple. So none from Penn today. Ava Piedrahita wins the all-around with a 39. Kalia McGilligot in second in her college debut, 38.825. Kennedy Duke for Pitt, 38.15. And Madison Durunda with a 36.85.
Yeah, Ava Piedrahita, such a solid all-arounder for Penn State. She's had higher scoring events here or there, but just such a, I think her potential in this sport is just the sky's the limit for her.
So for our other events, let's start on vault. Again, vault winner, Ava Piedrahita, 9.875, followed closely behind by Kirsten Belkoff of Penn at 9.825, and Maddie Johnston also of Penn State at a 9.825. Sarah Stallings with a 9.875 wins on the uneven bars, just ahead of Julia Bedminster's 9.85. So again, Sarah Stallings 9.875 wins on bars for Temple. On balance beam, Isabella Salcedo with a 9.9 to take the crown, and Salcedo also victorious on the floor exercise at 9.85, just ahead of Temple's Peyton Monk, the freshman, scoring a 9.825. Looks like our team scores are settled enough that there may be a deviation of a couple points here and there, but not enough to change the winner today. Penn State with a 194.725 is going to come away with the victory today in our season opening quad meet. That is an unofficial score, but it looks like they will have no trouble placing first. Pitt at 193.125 in second place. Penn at 192.575, and then Temple at 192.25. Those are, again, your unofficial final scores from the Palestra tonight. So that will do it for us. A ton of fun, and so glad you could be with us this evening from the Palestra in Philadelphia. So for Christina Chauvenet and our entire crew at the University of Pennsylvania and on ESPN+, I'm Andrew Luftglass, saying so long, and we'll see you the rest of this terrific NCAA gymnastics season on ESPN+. Yeah, certainly hope you all come as prepared as they did, as Marissa Lassiter did tonight. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.